This week is the 25th anniversary of National Crime Victims' Rights. Our Haley Lanham talked to the Ohio Crime Victim Justice Center founder to learn more about your rights.
25 years ago, the Ohio Crime Victims Justice Center was created. OCVJC is a nonprofit organization that provides free legal assistance to crime victims and makes sure that they know their rights. Founder and executive director Kathy Harper Lee was a victim herself.
So started off way back. I was a victim of trafficking by my stepfather and mother from the age of 5 to 16. And although I didn't call it trafficking at the time, my stepfather abused me and offered me to members of his motorcycle gang.
Lee and her team created a 2-page document full of your basic rights. The original booklet was 45 pages.
They have to request some very critical rights if they wish to exercise them. And so it's always been, I'm so happy that we finally have this victims' rights request form in place. It reduces that 45-page booklet, puts it into something that's easy to follow and easy to understand. And then from these most critical basic rights, victims can then access our victims' rights toolkit in order to sort of dive in further to find out other rights that are available to specific types of crimes.
Her team is there to fight for your rights. If you find that your rights have been violated, her office can provide a letter of opinion.
They can call us, our legal team, for a letter of opinion. So they get a letter of opinion from the attorney saying, this routinely happens here. This is a violation of victims' rights. And basically, you need to remedy it.
Lee has helped more than 11,000 victims in the state of Ohio, and she provides training to multiple different agencies to help others be aware of a victim's right. In Parkersburg, I'm Haley Lanham with WTAP News.